All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hope everyone's doing well. If you have any questions about anything as I go through it, don't be afraid to just put a question in the chat. So last time we started in with this new lesson 2.8 that introduces string methods. And on the first day, we just looked at the compare to method, which basically takes the difference between two strings. And if the difference is negative, it means that the calling string is first in the dictionary. And if the result is positive, that means that the argument string is first in the dictionary. One thing that we did not address, though, is if the result is 0. So if the result is 0, that just means that the strings are identical. So one thing that I want to point out here is the other resource that I put on this assignment. So the very last PDF here is actually directly from the College Board, and it's the Java Quick Reference for the AP Java subset. So basically, this is all the methods that you need to know for the scope of this class and for the AP test if you're choosing to take the AP test. So you'll notice that the first section of this is all the string methods that we will cover. So you will see that compare to is actually last on the list. And what's really cool about the reference is that it reminds you exactly what these methods do and what they return as well. So you can see that the note here says it returns a value less than 0, in other words, a negative value. If so if it says this here, that means that it's the calling string is less than, in other words, comes first in the dictionary, then the other string. And by other, they mean the one being passed in by an argument. If it's 0, it means that the two strings are equal to each other, meaning that they're the same. They're the same word, right? And then if the return value is greater than 0, in other words, positive, the positive integer, it means that the calling string comes after the string, the argument string in the dictionary. All right, so make sure you really understand what it's saying here. Write it out in words that you can understand. That will be really helpful for your learning. We're gonna also cover these other methods as well. Some of them, I think the most complicated one is compare to, just to wrap your head around. The rest are pretty straightforward, and they won't take as much time to kind of take apart. We're gonna start looking at substring today. So you can see that substring returns a, one second, let me let someone in. Substring returns the substring, a substring of a string. What the heck is a substring? It just means part of a string. And there's actually two versions of it. One that takes a start index, and one that just takes a start index, and also one that takes a start index and an ending index. So let's see what the heck that means. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to look at 2.8.4. So it's called chopping strings, and if you want to go ahead and go to it as well, I'll put that in the chat. All right, so this is called chopping strings, and it's called that because we'll be chopping up a string into pieces, basically, using the substring method. All right, so we start out with this really long string that's like a whole complete sentence. And we'll kind of draw out what this looks like in memory as well to kind of see what happens. So let me annotate. All right, so I'm gonna probably draw over here. So this is gonna be our reference variable, which is called all letters. And The reason why they're calling it all letters is that this is a famous sentence that uses every letter in the alphabet. And then all letters is going to refer to the sentence. Let's see if I can make it big enough. Then that's going to refer to this text right here. All right, cool. All right, so now, actually, let me make this so it actually fits, so I can have that space back. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we have just the string object that's created on line 5. And then line 7, of course, is going to print out that sentence. But now what we're interested in is what happens when we call this substring method. So here on line 11, we can see that we're calling the substring method right here. And we're passing in 2 values. So this is going to be the start index. So which letter we're gonna start the substring, and then this is gonna be the ending index. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we need to understand to be able to know how this works. The first thing is that when we're indexing, when I say index, I mean position, first of all, okay? And then secondly, when dealing with Java and a lot of other programming languages, the index always starts at 0. So this is actually the 0th letter here. So that means that everything else is gonna be like 1, 2, and then you also count spaces, because remember, spaces are also characters. 3, and then so the 4th letter is actually this Q here. So that means my starting letter for my substring is going to be at Q. And then the ending, the number that I put in for the end, is actually non-inclusive, meaning that it's actually going to give me the characters that are from position 4 up until 8, excluding 9. So let's finish putting our numbers up to 8 here. So this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I know that my substring is just going to be these characters, so quick. So you can even see that they named it quick as well. So this is going to go ahead and create a new string. And I'll try to fit that in right here. Get rid of this dialog box. How can I get that? There we go. Okay, cool. Got rid of that. So this is, the variable name is quick. It's a string. And then that's going to refer to our substring from the original string. Right here, which was just the string quick. All right, and we can go ahead and run this and make sure that we got the right results. So let's go ahead and run that guy. Okay, so we'll see that the print statement from line 7 prints out the whole sentence. And then the print statement from line 12 prints out our new string quick, which was, derived as the substring from position 4 up until, but excluding 9 in the original string. And then we've got another form of substring here that only takes 1 number. And when it only takes 1 number, that means that I want to start at this position, but then I want to keep going until the end. So in other words, if we count out 36 from here, oops, I shouldn't do that. Let's expand this out. It's still going to move it. Well, it's going to turn out if we count, 0 up until 36, 36 is going to be this D in dog right here. And so if we start at 36 and we keep going till the end, we're going to wind up with the string dog. And so, that's going to create yet another string. So we can go ahead and fit that right here. So this is dog, which is a string. And that's going to point to the string value. Dog. Okay, so then when we print that out on line 16, we'll see the word dog. And so, oh, actually it was the L. I was trying to cheat by looking here. So it turns out that it would be lazy dog, not dog. So if we actually count this 0, 1, 2, 3, remember count the spaces, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then we scroll that over, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So yeah, it would be lazy dog, not just dog. See, I was trying to be lazy like the dog. I got the wrong answer. So let's see, let's just change that guy. So here we have lazy dog. Cool. All right, so now the last thing that they do here is now they are trying to get the length. So this is yet another method. So if you call length on a string, it's going to return to you how many letters are in the string. So remember that indexing starts at 0. Length is just the count. So you're not going to start at 0 when you're counting the letters. Okay. So we go through and count this. Let's see. Let me erase these numbers because that's confusing. So we know from when we left off counting here that we were at 36, but we started at 0. So really that's going to be 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So the length of this is 42. So we're actually storing that in a variable called length as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'm running out of kind of like real estate here. Let me move this over. And let's clear some of this stuff up so I can have some room. All right, so now I can create a length variable that's an integer. Length, that's an int. And that value is 42. Remember, primitives, the value is stored at the location of the variable. It's not a reference variable. So now we have a length of 42 stored there. So now they use that to kind of determine where they want to start in the substring. So they want to get the last 3 letters of the sentence. So they just say, hey, I want to start at length -3. And so that's a good tool to use, being able to take the length and then like subtract a number in order to get the last n letters of something. So this is actually going to return the last 3 letters of this sentence. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. And those last 3 letters here is DOG, or dog. And so we wind up with one last string called last 3 that points to the string dog. All right, so again, I want to point you to really kind of starting to use this Java quick reference right here. So far, we've already covered compare to right here at the bottom. We have also covered the 2 substring methods, and we've also covered length. right? And this is a good reminder of how these methods actually work. So if you have a printer at home, I would print it just so you could like have it at your side, take notes on it, kind of reword what it's saying in order to put it into your own words, something like that. Or even if you don't have a printer, you can like save the PDF to your desktop, annotate on it, that kind of thing. All right, so got enough time to look at the other example here. So let me go ahead and clear my screen. And we're gonna move on now to the next example. So that's object concatenation. All right, object concatenation. So in this example, they're actually, they have a class defined here called nickname. And nickname has a constructor that takes three strings. It takes a person's real first name, a real last name, and then also a nickname as well. And so those are the three private instance variables that create a nickname object. So if we look at my program, we are creating 3 nickname objects. So we can actually draw those out as well. So there's going to be 3 different objects, so 3 different reference variables. One is called Carol. One is called Dwayne. Oops. And one is called Travis. All right, and these are all of nickname type. I'm not going to put it here just to save room. And these are all going to point to nickname objects in memory. So Carol is going to have 3 instance variables: real first name, or actually it's just called first name, last name, and then nickname. So we'll go ahead and put those in there. So first name is Carol. And then the next one is last name, which is dog. And actually the last one is nickname, which is the dog. Okay. So this is first name. This is last name. And this is nickname. All right, so for the sake of time, I'm just gonna do the complete memory diagram for the first object, but you know that Dwayne has these 3 instance variable values and Travis has these 3 instance variable values. All right, so when I try to print out my objects, the Tostring method is called automatically. So let's take a look at that Tostring method, what it does. So the Tostring method is usually at the bottom. So we see that the Tostring method returns a string, and that string takes the form of first name concatenated with a open parenthesis, then the nickname, and then the closed parenthesis, and then the last name. So if I were to print out Carol the dog, or Carol, well, this object, Carol, it would say Carol, and then in parentheses, the dog, and then the last name dog. So let's go ahead and verify that. So you can see Carol, and then in parentheses, the nickname, the dog. And then it does that with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Travis, Redfin Fish, And then at the very end there, we see down here, they print out a complete statement here. So they take Carol, which is going to say, Carol the dog, went to a movie with Travis Redfin Fish. And so that's what you see here. So this is just a kind of revisiting the idea of string concatenation, which is using the plus symbol to join two or more strings together. And so they exhibited this both in the toString method down here. So they're using the plus symbol to concatenate. And then also in a print statement on the client code here. So you can see the plus symbol here concatenating as well. All right, any questions on that? So there's no actually new string methods introduced here, just more concatenation, and specifically concatenating objects of a class that happens to have strings as private instance variables. All right, so let's start taking a look at the first homework assignment then. So the first homework exercise is called speaking, and this one can be a little challenging because it requires you to look at the documentation, and they don't even tell you exactly what the name of what you're looking for is. They just tell you that you need to find two methods that will allow you, for one method, to return a string that is all uppercase, and another method that would return all lowercase. And so they're expecting you to kind of click here and look for that method. So remember, the methods come after constructor, and there's a long list. But luckily, these two methods are named very intuitively. One is to lowercase, and one is to uppercase. So here's to lowercase. Here's the one that we want to use to convert all characters of a string all to lowercase. And then here's the one that we want to use to convert the characters of a string all to uppercase. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to create a class called Talker. And it's going to hold a piece of text. So it's going to have one private instance variable, a string called text. And then you have to implement some methods. Yell, which is going to convert the text string to all uppercase, so using that to uppercase method. And then whisper, that returns a string that converts the text to all lowercase. And then you also have a set text method, which is going to update the instance variable text. So that's our setter or mutator. And then finally, a toString method that returns the string representation of the object. So this is going to be the first time that you implement a toString method. All right, so we'll get started on this together. So this is the first homework. So you shouldn't have to do anything in Talker Tester. This is all of the stuff that they provide for you to test your Talker class. But we are going to implement the Talker class. And lucky for us, they actually gave us some starter code and some method or some comments that tells us how to implement the methods. So they've already created our private instance variable for us. So I'm just going to put PIV for private instance variable. The next thing is to define the constructor. They've already created kind of the shell for the constructor. So all we need to do is we need to initialize this private instance variable to whatever is getting passed in here to the constructor. So we're going to say text gets starting text. Okay, and then for yell, remember that we want to convert everything that is stored in text to uppercase, and we want to return that. So normally we've been used to just doing like system.out blah blah blah, But we're going to start seeing return statements a lot more now because as you get closer to the AP tests, when you're writing code for the AP tests, you're usually not going to print stuff out. You're going to be returning values. So we're going to return this text variable, but we want to return it so that it is in all uppercase. And if we remember, that method is called toUppercase. So I'm just going to put dot to uppercase. Okay, and that'll return that string as uppercase. Similarly, for the whisper method, we're going to return the private instance variable text, but now we're going to return it as to lowercase. Okay, and then next we want to create a setter so that if we wanted to, we could change the contents that text points to. So we could change it to refer to a different string. So for that, it's going to be very, very similar to what we did for the constructor. We're just going to say text gets new text. Okay, notice that is a void method, so it doesn't return anything. It only changes the private instance variable. And then finally, here's our first, the first toString method that we have to actually create. So it says we need to return a string representation of this object. The returned object should look like I say, and then text surrounded by quotation marks. So we're going to say return. We're going to put I say with a comma and a space surrounded by quotes. So that's a string literal. And then we're going to concatenate. First of all, we want to concatenate a quote. And remember, we have to do something kind of funky for quotes because quotes usually means, hey, this is a string. So we're going to use an escape character and then put a quotation mark there. So that's going to tell me, hey, I want to actually print this one quotation mark. And then I need to concatenate the text variable. And then finally, I need to do this one more time so that I get another quotation mark. All right, cool. So that should return a string that says I say and then whatever the text is. All right. So now if we test this, it'll use this talker tester class to test stuff out. So let's run that. Okay, so it uses a scanner object, so we get to determine the text. So I'm going to put my name since it has capital and lowercase letters. And we'll see that first it should create the talker object. Then it should print out, well, it should create the yelling version and the whisper version. Then it will print out the yelling version and print out the whispering version. So let's go ahead and press enter. All right, so it says, so here's what's returned by the toString method, which is just the regular form that I put in. So with the S and the K capitalized. Here's the yelling form where it's completely capitalized. And here's the whispering form where it's all lowercase. All right, so that's that first exercise, and hopefully that helps you get started. What I'd like you all to do for homework is to try to do these four on your own. So you've got toString for flowers. So you're gonna write a toString method just like you saw me do. And then organizing files, where you have to implement some methods that they gave you in the Filer class. And you're gonna practice using compare to, and you're gonna also practice using equals, which we actually didn't cover, but all it does is it tells you true if the two strings are the same or false if they are not. And then concatenating fractions, which is very much like what we did with concatenating objects. So you're going to implement two methods, fill out the toString method, and the tester class should take care of the rest. And then finally, word games. you're going to implement a whole class. So you might not get through it all. You might have some difficulty, but what I'd really like you to do is to really give it a good try, and try to read through the documentation to understand it better. So you have this, but you also have the Java quick reference, which is a kind of more concise, less overwhelming document. So really give it a good try. I will be available for office hours to go over the rest of the questions, and I will also record the video in case you need to look back at it as well. But that's all I have for you today. If there's no questions, have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you all for office hours on Friday.